Today we're at Home Depot to make our first official purchasing stop. We've been to Home Depot a couple times already just to look at things, not to actually purchase anything, but in order to be able to break ground in the next couple days, there's a couple things we need to pick up. We have our cut sheet today, which we're going to ask them kindly to cut for us because we don't want to buy a table saw.
One of the things that we love about Home Depot is that they have a massive wall saw that you can take advantage of. All you got to do is measure your cuts, give them the cut sheet, and they produce exactly what you're looking for. We also got some foam board to insulate the floor. We've picked up the tools that we need to lay the floor. We have all our materials, so there's only one thing left to do, and that's to actually get to work. Today is the day where we finally break ground on our cargo van conversion. I'm really excited, and what we're going to be doing today is laying the subfloor, which is truly the foundation of everything that we're going to build inside of our new tiny home on wheels.
It feels like we've spent a lot of money right now with not a lot of progress, so I think it's time we actually put that money into the van and get to work.
With all the time that we've spent planning this cargo van, we have a pretty good idea of exactly what we want to achieve, and that's why today is the day. It's also 20 degrees here, and looking at the forecast, it looks like it's going to be one of the last warm days we got. So that means some of the adhesive work that we want to do, well, today really is our last chance to do it.
We are so incredibly lucky that we have a warehouse space to work in, which means that even in the frigid Canadian winter, you'll see us working on this van. Potentially. Step one, with all the materials that we've brought in so far, the van floor has gotten a little bit dirty, and it's super important that we work with a clean surface so that the adhesives do their best job for us.
Now that we've got our van floor nice and clean, there is one more thing we have to do before we can actually start laying strapping. There are these D-rings that are bolted around the vehicle, which could be great, I'm sure, for certain applications, but for our purpose, they're not really helping. They're actually getting in the way of us laying our flooring. So I'm gonna take a 1/2-inch wrench and get them all out. Now, I've also seen people who have said you can use these holes to actually bolt your floor into it. We're not sure if we're gonna do that because, transparently, I'm not 100% sure if that's even gonna be necessary.
Every part of a van build is highly contested on the internet. So what we've decided to do for our flooring is we've purchased 3/8 plywood that we've had cut into strips to make strapping. We are going to use this PL Premium 3 times stronger adhesive to glue that onto the floor. We think this should do the job, and it doesn't take too long to set.
The Ford Transit has weird metal ribs, so we had to get a little bit creative, and what we did was measure the space between the metal ribs that we wanted to put strapping in, and then have the guy at Home Depot use his like $10,000 wall saw to cut us all straight pieces. What we're gonna have to do now is lay all the pieces in the floor, use our jigsaw to make the final cuts, and from there we're gonna glue our strapping down to our floor. And we're trying to save as much space on the floor as possible. Our entire floor build above the metal ribs should be just over 1 inch. I'm standing right now on our plywood subfloor. We got 1/2-inch sanded fir plywood. We wanted to make sure there was something really sturdy and strong underneath us, so that's why we chose the fir. We've also chose to insulate our floor with foam board. This is R3 XPS foam board, and it's not our first choice for insulation, but because we only have the mid-roof Transit, we have to do the best that we can in order to save space, and this is the densest, best insulating material we could get for money and for the size. In terms of tools today, because Home Depot did a lot of the heavy lifting for us already, we are gonna be using a Craftsman jigsaw and also this Ryobi sander to help smooth over the edges. And we also brought gym weights, and no, it's not to work out while we're doing our van build. It's to help support the strapping and the plywood when we put it down and glue it until it firmly sets. The reason we're doing that is to try and avoid any sort of bowing from long wood pieces.
We measured in between the ribs first and had these cut to match the ribs, and we made a sheet with it, except that I think I forgot that sheet at home. We just need to line these up, figure it out, remeasure it. That's okay, not an issue. We'll figure that out. That's the last piece that has to go in. We still have to glue it down and sand it, but we're getting a little hungry, so it's time for a lunch break, and then we'll be back to finish this up.
So in order to speed this process along, we're gonna go piece by piece with the strapping and glue it down. Kirsten is gonna sand the pieces so that they're nice and smooth like a baby's bottom.
We bought an orbital sander because we figured this will be the most multifunctional tool for us to do the sanding throughout the whole van. We're using 80 grit sandpaper because we don't need it to be super fine. We just need the adhesive to have a good, clean surface to attach to.
Once Kirsten's done with the sander, I'm gonna adhesive the strapping to the bottom of the vehicle and then put some weight on it until it sets properly. And in order to do that, I've got protective gear, she's got protective gear. Safety first, kids.
And now we're gonna do that like 700 times. Well, we've made a small miscalculation. As it turns out, the adhesive that we chose takes 24 hours to cure, which means that we can't do anything else other than putting the strapping in today. This kind of looks like it's gonna turn into an all weekend thing instead of a 1 or 2 day thing. That's fan build, I guess.
Last pieces. Very nice. Well, that about wraps up our first day of van building, and I am extremely satisfied with the result.
Honestly, it turned out way better than I expected it to, and I don't know why I was expecting it not to work out this good, but everything is beautifully flush. It's well sanded, which means everything should adhesive really well to it, and we used exactly 1 tube of glue, and luckily, literally the last drop on the last piece.
We can't really go much further today because we need to let the glue set in. What we're gonna do is clean up, get out of here, and catch you back here in the warehouse tomorrow early in the morning. Bye. So the plan for today is to try and get the foam board and the subfloor down. The first thing we have to do to actually make that happen is to make a template of the vehicle with craft paper.
So we're trying to make our lives a lot easier by making a craft paper template of the bottom of the vehicle, which we can take out and then lay down on our foam board pieces, and then cut our foam board pieces without having to come in, out of the vehicle using an X-Acto knife to try and get it perfect. We should have a more efficient day if we take the extra 10 minutes to do this now. All right, well, now that we've hopefully made our lives a little easier, we need to take this out and actually put it to work on cutting out our foam board. Oh, baby. We now have our foam board pieces laid out and our stencil right on top of them, so I guess it's just time for us to start cutting. See how much we have to trim off. That was hard.
Well, pretty close. We're not gonna have to do much in the way of trimming. We will have to take a little bit out of the wheel wells and in the corners. But all in all, I would say pretty good job, Kirsten.
Thank you.
I was reading this construction foam board adhesive. It wants us to put the foam board into place after applying the adhesive and then remove it for a few minutes to vent it. Not 100% sure why, but I think we should follow the instructions on that. Time to start the gluing. Yeah, this is not clear. It's kind of like beige, if that is the right. Now this stuff is specifically designed for the type of foam board that we used. It's designed to not melt the foam board. And now we just got to do that 4 more times, so I think we'll spare you the boring details and show you the finished product. Now all we have left to do is put the plywood on top of it. Well, I guess we have vinyl to put in as well. And silicone caulking to do. Crap, we still have a lot of stuff to do. Kirsten's finished drawing the cut lines on the plywood. It's time to break out the jigsaw. This is where having a table saw would be great, but we're just gonna use the tools that we have available to us as best we can. The job will get done. I'm sure of that. That's pretty close.
I think you need to take off more there, right? Yeah, way more there.
Oh! Yes! Just to be clear, this second piece took forever. We took this in and out of the van like 7 or 8 times and kept trimming off the corner, bringing it in, it still wouldn't fit. It finally fits and it's perfect. I'm so happy. Holy shit. Oh, it's so close.
Oh.
Got it. Got it.
This has been by far one of the most exhausting things of this day. Trying to fit all these nooks and crannies, and you're not just cutting with an X-Acto knife, you're cutting with a saw, which takes a lot more time and effort. And this part is a lot more important for us to get right.
It is time for dinner. So how about this? We're gonna put you away for now and we'll pick you up tomorrow, which is not gonna be a very heavy day. We don't have a whole lot left to do to get this subfloor in the way that we want it. So, yeah.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Well, it's day 3 of using these adhesives again, and I will be thankful when we don't have to use them anymore. They don't smell very good. Even though we're wearing a mask, I was getting a bit of a headache yesterday. But the good news is it seems to have actually set properly on the foam board, and it's time to glue the subfloor to the foam board. The caulking gun is actually pushing this rod in crooked. I wish it was because I was too strong, but I'm thinking it's because it was a cheap caulking gun. It cost us like $5.
So our plywood is down. We let the adhesives cure for a couple days just so that we knew what we were working with. And we also wanted the plywood boards to settle themselves out a little bit, so we had some weights on them just to get the bowing out. The plywood looks amazing. I mean, check out this floor. I can't believe it. So in every box there is 7 planks and we have 3 boxes, therefore we have 21 planks. Every box has about 7 different patterns of grains, so we just need to make sure that we keep them all separate so that we don't end up with 2 grains side by side that match identically, because that would just not look quite right. Unfortunately, this is just what you get with vinyl because it's not natural hardwood. It's all fabricated in a shop. It's basically like having a bunch of tiles that are just slightly different, but they mimic the same pattern. So once we've got those all laid out, then we can decide what pattern we want them on the floor and lay them out kind of like a puzzle to make sure that we're happy with the way that they're laid out.
We've measured this board like 15 times already, and we've drawn exactly what we need to cut out. First things first, we're cutting out the wheel well. The box says just to use an X-Acto knife, so here goes nothing. I don't know how this is going to be. That's enough of the X-Acto knife. We're going to break out the big guns for this because that wasn't working as fast as I'd like. We got the jigsaw. I'm hoping we have the right blade on because the blade we have is meant to cut wood, but it's meant to cut it smoothly, so fingers crossed. Let's do a little quick tester here to see what we're dealing with. I think that's a bit of an improvement over the X-Acto knife. We're gonna continue with the jigsaw here. That's pretty good. It's pretty solid, actually.
These first 2 here are by far the hardest ones to get because it's the weirdest corners of the van. This is not straight, and maybe what we should have done is found a way to straighten it out to make our lives a little easier. It's too late now, we're just gonna move forward. So we just need to measure this next one here, and then from there on out, it should be pretty straightforward to just get it right. After a couple frustrating moments, I would say 99% based on me, because my little bit of perfectionism came out, which really shot me in the foot when we were trying to get this right, but we finally figured out the perfect technique. We have just one small piece left to do to get this completely finished, and I honestly will be thankful that we never have to lay another van floor again. Famous last words?
This is an exciting moment, I must say. Bang. Well, the moral of the story is, if you just keep chipping away at things, eventually you get it done. And I absolutely love the look of our new vinyl floor. Everything is sitting so flush, so nicely. I really couldn't be happier with the way it turned out.
I think we picked the perfect color for us. It's not gray, which is nice. It's got a little bit of warmth for it, and we'll just have to see how it ties into everything else we plan on doing.
Anyways, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you to Patreon supporters. We hope you really enjoyed this one, and we'll see you in the next video when we do something to our van that cannot be undone. So hopefully it goes well.
Guess we need this cardboard for it. Bye!